Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke.
Luke, today we are tackling I was going to say customer write-in, but a listener write-in. I guess they're customers. They buy us for free.
What? Yeah, I mean, no, not the kind of customers we want.
Yeah, you all are the worst. We're talking about the Suez Canal.
So right before we got on the show, I was like, can't we just take the Panama Canal episode we did and be like, put a sticker on top of it, and I could do a little thing in Audition where replace the word Panama with the word Suez and be done? And James was like, no, Luke, this is going to be an amazing episode. And indeed, it actually is. Lots of history.
So much history. And connections to the Panama Canal.
That one I was shocked by.
Were you shocked by? Because you shouldn't have been, because we covered it in the Panama Canal episode.
Well, James, I don't remember. One of my buddies the other day was like, "Oh, I listened to your episode on the burger," and he started quizzing me on what I said, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't remember anything that I say in the episodes."
Absolutely,
none.
I'm with you. I know. Suez Canal, Luke. It stretches.
Go ahead.
It stretches 120 miles. Can you believe that? From Port Said, which is not a great name, on the Mediterranean in Egypt, and then it meanders.
Meanders is the right word.
Southward to the city of Suez, which I did not know was a thing, which is located on the northern shores of the Gulf of Suez, which sounds great.
Just so you get a geographical sense of this, if you were let's say you were hanging out in, let's say, Cyprus, or you're in Italy, and you wanted to get over to Yemen, or you wanted to get over to you would have to go all the way around Africa if you were going to take a boat. And it was a major pain in the butt, back in the day before the Suez. It's the exact same reason why the Panama Canal was built, was because getting ships, you could easily just cut through, go through the Red Sea. Next thing you know, you're in the Gulf of Aden, the Arab Sea, and then you're in the Indian Ocean. Everybody knows that, right?
I think so.
So before the Suez Canal was there, so geographically, this is literally 120 miles versus thousands of miles going around the Horn of Africa and back up the other side.
Is that Cape Horn?
Yeah.
One's Cape Horn and one's Cape Hope, I think. I think Africa and South America.
I think it's Cape Horn.
Okay. We're going to go with that. The Horn Cape. Yeah. So you basically just nailed it.
I did.
Go all the way, the long way, or dig a big hole and pop out on the other side of things.
And the reason why, the reason why this kind of didn't exist before, and we'll get into all the histories, but they weren't sure of the elevation of the, whatever it is, is it the Mediterranean? Yeah, they weren't sure of what the Mediterranean Sea was and what the Red Sea was. They were thinking that, we're going to drain half of the planet's
multiple times. They made this.
They kept measuring incorrectly, I guess.
Yes, incorrect measurement. Very strange. Fun fact for you, Luke.
Shoot.
The canal does not take the shortest route across the isthmus, which is only 121 kilometers for most of the world, or 75 miles for us. Instead, it takes advantage of a bunch of lakes that already existed. So, from north to south, the lakes are Lake Manzala, Lake Timsa, and my favorite, the Bitter Lakes, the Great Bitter Lake and the Little Bitter Lake. That could be us. You could be the Great Bitter Lake and I could be the Little Bitter Lake.
I'm assuming it's bitter because the Red Sea, maybe it's salty. It's instead of a lake we think of, Lake Erie with needles and stuff like that floating around, theirs is bitter because of the salt.
I don't know, but I like that.
Okay.
My favorite line that I read during all of my very intensive research as we continue on into our construction and history was, "The waterway is vital for international trade and as a result, has been the center of conflict since it opened in 1869.
Yeah, I feel
like, how great is that? It's like, this is the key to everyone's success. Therefore, nobody can have nice things.
It's exactly. So basically, on multiple occasions, it was like, no, no, mine. And then someone else took it for a little bit. And they're like, no, 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 mine now.
Yeah.
So interesting thing too about the Suez Canal, unlike the Panama Canal, make sure you check out the Panama Canal episode.
Nice
The
drop.
Panama Canal, the elevation in the water was drastically different, like enough where it would like flood like all the cities and coastlines if they just cut like through one side to the other. The Suez Canal, because they are almost at the exact same level. There's probably some kind of difference based off of tidal conditions and whatnot. They basically just had to dig a ditch to go from one side to the other. Again, leveraging these lakes along the way. So there is not a single lock in the whole thing. It just goes from one side to the other side of the isthmus, which is a word that I don't think I've ever heard before, and
really?
I've been using it a lot now.
And you are like a geography savant as well. So it surprises me that you haven't heard that.
So I've been using, so I told my wife I'm going to go from like the porch to the shed in the backyard. I said, I'm going to go across the isthmus of the backyard. And she's like, I don't think you know what the word isthmus means. And I'd be like, you are isthmus incorrect.
You're isthmus correct. Oh, I love that. Another fun fact for you, Luke.
Shoot.
You want one?
Please.
A series of small canals you connected the Nile River and therefore the Mediterranean as early as 2000 BC. So again, not the right direction. You go from the Mediterranean into the Nile, and the Nile doesn't really take you where you want to go. It pops you back out in the the Atlantic again. They're trying to get over to the Indian Ocean. However, like a direct connection between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea was considered impossible, like you were saying, because of those distinct levels of altitude. All the people who ever looked at this were like, oh man, like the Red Sea is on such a different elevation than the Mediterranean. We're never going to be able to connect these puppies up, before locks and whatnot were around.
And with the Suez Canal, that wasn't until good friend of the show,
longtime listener,
Linant de Bellefonds.
That was good.
How do you say his first name? Linant de Bellefonds. I think is how you would pronounce it.
You crushed it, Luke.
So apparently he specialized in Egypt. I don't know what that means. My guess is he was an Egyptologist. We're probably both reading off of the same page based off.
No, I don't have this, but I like it.
But essentially, he was a French engineer who surveyed the isthmus of the Suez and the isthmus of Port Said and determined, in fact, this was back in like the 1830s, that you could connect them with a canal without locks because they were at the same level.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I know. Fun fact again, I don't have any actual information. I just have fun facts. Studies also were done back in Napoleon's time. So Napoleon's canal planning began in like 1799, so like 1800. And again, a mistake in measurement showed that the sea levels between the Mediterranean and the Red Seas were far too different for a canal to be feasible. So until Luke's friend here, Linant de Bellefonds, showed up, everybody again thought this was impossible to do, which I think is kind of interesting. Before we continue on with a ton of great history, Luke, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
So I have to assume that this is going to be the Suez Canal Company who was given the 99-year lease over the waterway?
Given how much I saw they make each year, they should be able to sponsor us easily.
They said, what was the...
Not so.
I think they said in 2022, they're thinking it'll be...
I can get you those numbers at the end, but oh my goodness, it's ridiculous.
So it's not the Suez Canal Company.
It's not. In fact, we don't have a sponsor this week, but we do have two shout outs, and one is going to really fit into this nicely. Kayla Z wrote in and said, 1, love the podcast. Thank you,
of
Kayla.
Course.
2, topic suggestions. A, the engineering behind winemaking. I thought that was interesting. Said was
Mm.
recently doing wine tasting and a lot of the wine folks, and it sounded like rubbish. So I want the experts, us, to explain it. And then second idea, street bikes versus mountain bikes, which I thought you might be interested in.
I think I would be very interested in that. I think you would probably just be like, I won't do research that week, and you can just like make fun of me or something.
I'd be like, my wife has a spin bike in the basement. Does that count?
No, it does not. And on the wine one, like, I'm a teetotaler, right?
That's what I told her.
I don't drink, so I could just like sit still, and you could take that episode. That might
We'll
not
just
be a bad
split them.
idea.
Yeah, I like this. But then also a request came in with this write-in. Can you please do more guessing games with Luke? How great is that?
Well, I think that's just to embarrass me because I usually guess wrong, even whenever the answers are clear and easy to discern.
And already discussed in the show. The second write-in, Zach F.
Z-Dog.
Hello. My name is Zach. I've been a listener on and off, for a little over a year. Yay. I'm a branch manager. Oh yeah, Zach. I'm a branch manager of a bank and have nothing to do with engineering, other than I meet hundreds of engineering students from a nearby college, and I recommend your podcast to all of them. I like him. This is good people.
What?
I have some beef with the pod, though. I'm
Ooh.
from Binghamton, New York,
Mm.
and when listening to your IBM episode, you never mentioned Endicott, New York, where IBM was founded and headquartered for much of its history. I was going to suggest doing an episode on lithium-ion batteries to make it up to us southern tier cities, since Stanley Whittingham was a professor at Binghamton University. But while typing this email, you shouted him out in your personal transporter episode. Look at us, just covering our bases. I think that was
none
all
of
you.
this.
I think that was you.
Yeah.
Love the podcast, and so do all the students I recommend it to. Thank you for the support, Zach.
Heck yeah.
If any of you want to tell me about all the people you tell to listen to our podcast that are clearly not doing so based on our numbers, why don't you? That's not true. Why don't you email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com?
And don't forget to subscribe, like, share. We love the reviews. And as always, you can tell your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering podcast anytime. And make sure you hit up the store. Just Google Unprofessional Engineering and you'll get to the store and buy some stuff.
Yeah, buy stuff at our store. I haven't seen a purchase in a while. Does your Alexa actually listen to you, Luke? Mine,
it does.
Only listens to me and never listens to my wife.
No,
so
it does. It does quite well.
By the 1850s, Luke, there was this great opportunity for Egypt and the Ottoman Empire. Also, why do I think the Ottoman Empire was in 200?
Like a gazillion years ago.
Yeah, it's not even long ago. So anyways, the Ottomans governed the country at the time and granted French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps permission to create the company to construct the canal. So that's good. And like you said, 99-year lease over the waterway and the surrounding area for the Suez Canal Company. That's great. He created the International Commission for basically busting up the isthmus. And this consisted of 13 experts from 7 countries. And it was led by a civil engineer named Alois.
I wasn't looking. I didn't know what that noise was for a second. You were gagging.
Dying over there.
Yes,
I was gagging. So this civil engineer leads things up. Construction begins, and at the northernmost port said end of the canal. This started in 1859. 1859.
Me and
I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry, 1859.
That's right.
And it's crazy how quickly this happened.
I thought the same thing. You do this today.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So they said excavation work took about 10 years, and it was estimated that 1.5 million people worked on the project. The problem with the people that worked on the project is the Brits.
Well, it wasn't a problem with the people so much as maybe the people in charge.
So the Brits and the French and the Americans were like, hey, I'm not sure if they turned a blind eye to this. I imagine they probably did.
I don't think they did. I think there was some
some hubbub. There was some hubbub, I think is the right word. But
eventually they were like, I like money.
A large majority of the individuals that actually built the canal was slave labor. So not great history there. And anytime you're in those types of working conditions, there was, tons of deaths and cholera and sickness. And I'm sure OSHA didn't exist back then. And even if it did, lots and lots of people died, apparently, like thousands of people died in the construction, similar to the Panama Canal. I forget what the number was for the Panama Canal, but lots of deaths.
Well, yeah, we'll get to the Panama again. But what I thought was interesting is, like you said, the excavation work took 10 years. They were in there digging with picks and baskets and all sorts of stuff. And later on, they were like, this isn't working so well. And they found that bringing in dredgers and steam shovels started working well. In fact, just dredging overall proved to be way cheaper than dry excavation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they basically flooded the land around them so that they could dredge anytime it was possible. It was just so much easier. It was the ground was easy to move, so on. So they just started flooding the whole area so that they could dredge it all away. Kind of interesting.
The cost, James?
Ooh, tell me.
$100 million. That actually sounds
like
cheap.
A deal. Yeah.
I mean, in nowadays money, that actually sounds like pretty inexpensive. But
that's
it
like
was
what, an episode or two of the podcast.
Around about that.
Yeah.
It was more than double what they thought the original cost was going to be. So
yeah, even back then.
Mm-hmm.
The canal opened November 17th of 1869. So again, you said it took 10 years, right? And it started in 1859. This isn't even like the construction took this and then there was time to do this or that. No, this is 10 years. People can start shipping on through there.
Boom.
That's crazy.
Fun fact. And I have to give a little bit of credit to history.com because I feel like you and I are probably working off of the same.
No, this is from memory.
Oh, memory. Okay.
Yeah,
in
memory.
the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Mhm.
So officially,
Exactly.
fun fact, the first ship to navigate the canal was the imperial yacht of the French Empress Eugenia, the L'Algia, followed by a British ocean liner, Delta.
But was it? Go ahead. Continue on with the sentences, Luke.
No. That's what I read. What did you have differently? I just skimmed.
I
don't read in detail.
I will contradict what you said. The HMS Newport,
Oh, I see
a British
that.
Navy ship. What do you mean you see that? I'm just remembering this. Was actually the first to enter the waterway, with its captain having sneakily navigated into the front of the line. He was a line skipper. He line
I hate line
skippered
skippers.
under. Do you? Do you like getting a fist fight with them?
I do.
Oh, I could see that.
Bothers me.
Too. You're tough. Under the cover of darkness, he sneaks into the front of the line before the ceremonial opening. And the captain there, George Nares, he was officially reprimanded for the deed. They were like, bad, Captain George, bad. But secretly, the British government was like fist bumping him. And yeah, British were the first one through there. So they actually liked it, even though they pretended not to. So I thought that was funny. Do you have anything else you want to add in there before my favorite thing to do?
I know. It all gets wartime.
War connection. That's right. In 1888, the Convention of Constantinople.
Again, one of those things that feels like should have happened like in like the BC time. The
Convention of Constantinople?
Yeah, that's crazy.
What if it was the Convention of Istanbul?
I don't know. Maybe different.
Which one is it now?
I'm not sure.
That song. All right. Anyways, it decreed that the Suez Canal would operate as a neutral zone under the protection of the British. So that doesn't make sense to me.
I was going to say
they're going to
Romulans,
protect it, but who had then assumed control of the surrounding area, including Egypt and the Sudan. The British famously defended the canal by against the Ottoman Empire in 1915. 1915, the Ottoman. I need to do some research during World War I. And then the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty, obviously, of 1936,
obviously
reaffirmed the British control of the waterway. Why are you laughing so much? Which became really vital during World War II. Axis and allies and all that stuff. Italy and Germany tried to capture the canal. The allies said, not so fast, my friends, and then it remained neutral. Though there were different times throughout history, and maybe we'll mention them, that people got denied entrance because of their maybe not well-intentioned plans for using the canal. Do you have any
I like
more
it.
history you want to talk about?
There's definitely some more war history that you're skipping over.
Well, why don't you tell me about that?
So it was called the Suez Crisis. So this jumps way forward. So this
I was bored by this, so I skipped it.
Yeah. So this was October 1956. So this is whenever British, French, and Israeli troops threatened to invade Egypt and take over. It was called the Suez Crisis, and essentially they basically just tried to take over the parts of the Sinai Peninsula. And even though the Suez Canal Company continued to operate the waterway, UN forces had to get involved and maintain access. And it was that the same? No, that was not the same as the 6-Day War.
Oh, I saw that too.
The 6-Day War was really interesting. So this was in 1965, so 1967. So this is like
how long do you think this war lasted?
I'm guessing about 4 days, 7 days, somewhere in that neighborhood,
give or take.
So the best part about this whole thing was, so there's this 6-Day War that happens. Israeli troops are sent to the region immediately to take control, and 15 cargo ships get stranded.
This is so interesting.
In the canal. They were stuck there, and I have this in some of my fun facts. They were stuck there for 15 years. And it wasn't like they left them there. Because
it was 8 years.
No, you're 15. No, it was 15 ships, 8 years. You're right. Yeah, I had my numbers wrong.
You have that.
So it was so crazy. They can't just leave the ships there, right? They had to actually rotate crews for 30-day shifts, and they did nothing. Apparently, like, they sat around. They said that they barbecued. They developed
sports events.
They developed their own stamps. In their own like it was like being in prison. Like they would trade like cigarettes for food.
Is it like Lord of the Flies? Is that
and after they were finally able to be let out in 1975, it said only 2 of them were actually seaworthy enough to make the voyage under their own power. So
I'm impressed that 2 of them were still in good enough shape.
It was
right?
It was 8 years. They called them the Yellow Fleet because they basically just got covered in sand the whole time they were there. So lots of interesting wartime stuff.
Excellent. Well, Luke, I want to talk about the canal today, but before we do, I really want to take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
So this rant is timely. So depending on whenever you're listening to this, and it's not really a rant. It's just, it's more of like, if you haven't seen like all the stuff that's happening with like Elon and Twitter and whatever side you're on with Elon and Twitter, I'd like Elon Musk. I think he's an interesting character. Like just the way it's almost like he tries to be like antagonistic a little bit.
Oh, so, yeah. I think he pokes the bear all the time.
The day that he took over Twitter, I just saw this the other day. He walked in carrying a sink.
Yeah,
and I didn't understand the reference, and apparently, like, there was like someone commenting about like letting that sink in or something like that. And there's a picture of him walking into Twitter HQ carrying like a white porcelain sink, and he set it down. So
he's a special kind of guy.
He is. I mean, I have a hard time. Like, again, I'm not getting political, one side or the other, whatever you're on, but like he's done some pretty amazing things. I mean, he basically brought electric vehicles, whether you like Teslas or not. Like everybody has electric vehicles now. Like all the competitors have them. I mean,
he kind of took over NASA.
I mean, yeah, he basically runs NASA now. I mean, the other day they had dueling ships landing at the same time. Yeah. On floating, I mean, and I know he's not personally doing this stuff. It's his team of people, but he clearly has a way of doing really ambitious things in a really big way and being pretty successful at it. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I think there's a lot of hubbub, and it was the
day we're recording this, though, 10 or 15% of Twitter's getting fired. So sorry for you who are losing your jobs. Reach out on LinkedIn, and I would be happy to connect you with anyone I know.
Yeah, for sure.
And follow our podcast and subscribe. and
So
sponsor us.
it's more just commentary on what's happening in social media right now.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. You have Facebook kind of struggling a bit to kick off metaverse, and
Oh yeah, it's not going well.
Twitter's on fire right now for some reason. It's just an interesting time to be involved in social media, and
It is, Luke.
Yeah.
It is. It
so,
is.
more commentary than a rant.
Thanks for that, Luke. Keeping us awares of what's going
And
on
informed.
today.
Now, hopefully,
And
we post
informed.
this soon.
You're
Otherwise,
the one who
this
has
won't-
to produce it.
This won't make any sense in like 6 weeks or a month.
We'll do this one next and we'll post it.
Okay.
So the canal today. Today, an average of 50 ships navigate the canal daily, carrying more than 300 million tons of goods per year. Way back in 2014,
That's a lot of cash.
It is a lot of cash. In 2014, the Egyptian government oversaw an $8 billion with a B dollar expansion project. Remember, it cost $100 million to make.
$100 million to
So
make.
Then in
8 billion to
2014,
expand.
$8 billion to expand. It widened the Suez Canal from 61 meters to 312 meters for a 21-mile long stretch. The project took 1 year, that's impressive, to complete, and as a result, the canal can accommodate ships to pass both directions simultaneously now.
Yeah, because what, 61 meters? What's that, about like 30 feet? Something like that?
Yeah, it may be 30 and a couple inches, yeah. But it's interesting, like, they also basically put in passing lanes as well, so that they can like go around slower moving ships or ships that had to stop for some reason. So that's kind of cool. But also, like, I saw some stats about like how deep it is. It's really very shallow. So it's also a problem with, really large ships going through. So this expansion helped with that also. But despite the widening, and I think we probably all remember this, back in March of 2021.
Yeah, this was just recent.
Yeah, this ginormous is the technical term container ship heading from China got stuck in the canal and blocked more than 100 ships at each side. And the incident ended up disrupting global trade for over a week. They eventually got that thing unwedged and out of there, but there was like this whole like shipping delay thing. Plus it was smack dab in the middle end of COVID. So there were already shipping problems and supply chain issues. And now the best way to get stuff moved around also got blocked off. So just a terrible situation.
Do you think the captain of that ship lost his job? Could you imagine you're just you got your little white captain hat on? Because I'm sure every captain that drives a boat wears one. I would. Just saying. You're just
like Gilligan
tooting along through the
Skipper.
canal, and then I don't know, you check your phone, you're checking Twitter or Facebook, and all of a sudden you start going, like, when you saw that thing, it kind of went like cattywampus. Official term.
Like, did he hit like black ice or something? How'd that happen?
Like, he literally was completely across the canal, which was bananas. And then I'm thinking, okay, this is on water. Like, I mean, I've pushed a boat in water before. I mean, it's floating. It's easy. Apparently,
super easy.
he must have got like really, really dug in. You were talking about like the depths. They had the dredge underneath it, and they had all these crazy tugboats pulling and pushing at the same time. I would have to assume he lost his job.
Yeah, I'd imagine, though I have seen significant incompetence reported before. So what do I know? Maybe he got promoted up to a place where he doesn't have to captain a ship anymore.
Perhaps.
I was talking about the canal today. They see 8% of global seaborne trade annually. That's a lot. The Suez Canal makes up more than $15 million a day as of 2020. In the first quarter of 2022, Egypt reported $1.69 billion in revenue. And they can't even sponsor us?
Why don't we just build a canal here in Pittsburgh somewhere and just charge people to go through it?
Yeah. What could we connect up? Like, I don't know.
That's crazy.
It is. It really is. What else do you have, Luke?
I got a handful of fun facts, and I want to play my game.
Hit me with some fun facts now.
This one was bizarre. The Statue of Liberty was originally intended for the canal. As the Suez Canal neared completion in 1869, the French sculptor Frédéric Augustus Bartholdi tried to convince Ferdinand de Lesseps and the Egyptian government let him build a sculpture called "Egypt Brings Light to Asia," and yada yada yada, to quote Seinfeld. It never ended up happening, and it was the inspiration for the Statue of Liberty.
It was. And is this how art works? They're like, I'll just keep bothering people till somebody ponies up the cash for me to do whatever passion project
I
I
don't know. I
have.
feel like I should try that.
Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't mention this in our Statue of Liberty or Eiffel Tower episodes,
Yeah,
but
I don't remember that. I don't remember that one popping up when we did the research.
me
So
neither. Me neither. Can I do one?
please.
After successfully finishing the Suez Canal. No, that was the same thing. I was kidding. Go ahead.
So the cat that did the Suez tried to build the Panama Canal.
He did, yeah. And he brought in Eiffel, Gustav Eiffel as a partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did it go well?
No, it did not.
No.
They failed miserably. Apparently, thousands died during the construction, the heat, disease, yada yada yada. It says the team burned through 260 million without ever completing the project.
That isn't.
You
very
imagine
good.
burning through 200, and this is back then money,
That's what we spend
$260
on
million.
advertising. Yeah. Yeah,
That's all.
that's a
Do I
lot.
have any other fun ones?
Oh, so this helps correct our past mistake. The canal, or without the canal, ships would have to travel around the Cape of Good Hope. So apparently it is the Cape of Good Hope, not Horn, which would take up to 26 days. Luckily, the trip through the canal only takes 12 to 15 days to complete. So, almost 2 weeks of savings there, perhaps.
So speaking of how long it takes, we're going to play a little game here, James. Do not pull Google up on your thing.
I'll do what I want.
So we're going to guess.
I'm guessing.
So we're going to do directions from Port Said, and we're going to go to Suez. And if you had to drive this, keep in mind there's a couple of different alternate, but the shortest distance to drive that 200 or 100 and that whatever the distance, 121 kilometers, the distance. What would that be if we had to drive that? The roads that kind of run parallel.
But didn't you
that.
just say? Oh, so I'm not driving the exact 120.
Not
whatever.
the exact. It kind of runs kind of parallel to it.
75.
75 what?
Kilometers.
No. How long would it take time wise?
Oh, hour and a half.
2 hours and 31 minutes is the shortest distance. It has tolls. They're expensive. If you had to walk it, now the walking
Why
is
would
interesting.
I walk it?
But let's just say you were like
How
me,
hot
and
must that be?
and you enjoy hiking. Let's say you enjoy hiking
In the
and you
desert?
I mean, you're right next to water. You could get a drink. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
It's
Okay.
salt water.
Sure.
If you had to walk it, and keep in mind, you can walk exactly right beside the canal. Apparently, there's a trail.
You can?
Whenever I'm looking at it on the map, it looks like there's a trail. It's like it's like the Panhandle Trail, or like the one down on the south side.
The River Walk.
Yeah, the River Walk. How long would it take you to walk from Port Said to Suez?
Walk? 36 hours.
Wow. You are really close. 33 hours.
Ooh, pretty good.
You do have to jump on a ferry for this, because apparently
You just told me walking.
Well, I didn't look at all the details. It would take 38 hours walking without the ferry.
Obviously, I would have known 33 if I factored the ferry in. Jeez.
Okay, next we're going to do a few fun facts about the two cities that you need to guess. You ready?
Oh, dear.
Port Said.
Do these have to do with the Panama or the Suez Canal, or are these just random cities?
No. This is Port Said. So,
okay.
What is the population?
Oh, I'm guessing
Port
stuff about the cities.
Said?
Oh, 5,000 people.
Port Said?
I don't know how. I don't even know where Port Said is. I've never heard of it before I researched this thing.
Port Said has a total population of 818,000.
So that's
people.
close. I had 1,000 in my answer.
And now next, Suez.
That was a bad one. Okay. How big is Suez?
Like the population of the Suez, the city at the bottom of the Suez Canal.
250,000.
744,189.
I didn't learn my lesson.
You did not learn your lesson.
Okay. Weren't they very small? Like before this, they were like nobody lived there, and they basically built towns to support the construction.
Yeah,
and then they exploded.
Yeah, so interestingly, like
I
there was
remembered
nothing, middle of the desert.
Yeah.
There's a place called Ismailia, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Ismailia, yeah.
Ismailia. So this is the midway point between Port Said and Suez, right in the middle. It has a population of 1.4 million people. So this is actually like a pretty big city. Like when you look at it, there's like Airbnbs and there's all kinds of hospitals and it's a major city. I mean, 1.4 million is a pretty big city. Interesting.
That was fantastic. Do you have any other interesting facts?
The only other one I would say, it's not super interesting, but everybody,
it's a good one to end on then, yeah.
No, be quiet. Everybody kinda, I think, has an idea where Cairo is, but if you wanted to go from Cairo to Port Said, it's a total distance of, let me put this in miles for you. It's a distance of 125 miles.
That's not bad.
It'd only take you like 3 hours to drive it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? While you're checking out the pyramids and, the mummies and the Mummy's Return and all those, drive on up there and check out the canal.
I always wanted to go to Cairo. I think that would be interesting.
I'm told it's not the safest place for us to go at the moment, but I would really like to.
Yeah,
I think it would be great.
I like Egyptian, I like the pyramids. I think would be interesting. Cairo, like all that sort of stuff. I like the architecture.
We could go together, and who's possibly going to, mess with us with our fame and fortune, right?
I totally agree.
Excellent. If any of you have some suggestions on how we can travel to Cairo safely, hook us up. Anything else, Luke?
That's all I got for now.
Awesome. Well, I loved this. I thought this was great. Panama, I don't know. You got nothing on the Suez Canal. I'm going to put that out there. If any of you want to tell us what a great job we did, how funny we were, how much you loved the game, just really positive stuff, because I'm tired of your negativity, why don't you go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. And until next time.
See ya.